Presentation, we're going to start doing a regular market update at this time during the meetings. Is that any better?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So anyway, we're going to start this market update. Part of what we're trying to do is we're going to identify some of the metrics and statistics that need to be tracked on a regular basis. But it's not, at the national level, at the state level. We're really focused on what's happening in our market. So some things you need to consider as we start going through this data, okay? Sometimes you have to think and give consideration to the source of the data. Often things paint a prettier or uglier picture than what it actually is because everyone has their own agenda, as we have our own agenda. So we're going to try to kind of decipher some of this stuff so it makes sense for what we're trying to accomplish. A lot of these stats are for retail sales. We don't have a lot of good sources that track off-market sales. So a lot of stuff comes from MLS and Zillow, that type of thing. So some stats are leading indicators. They're going to give us an idea of where the market's headed. Some of them are lagging indicators and are only going to tell us what's happened historically. So, and I'm going to move kind of quickly here because we're a little behind schedule and we're trying to keep this short. But how we're going to start is we're just going to identify some base metrics that we're going to start tracking on a monthly basis. Those really are going to deal with inventory, days on market, home prices, rental and homeowner vacancy rates, mortgage defaults, and foreclosure starts. Two of the other things we really want to accomplish with this is to start some discussion about changes in regulation and neighborhood news. What's happening in individual markets. We have people that specialize in certain areas, do certain types of strategies in those areas, and we want to be able to talk about that amongst the members so we can all take advantage of it. So let's start first with some of the data from the Central Ohio MLS, and that really deals with inventory. So we've got for sale, listed, sold, and pending data. So these are some of the numbers for the home sales in November. Some of the data, we tried to pick a month where we can gather most of the data. Not everything's published for December yet, so we picked November. So as you can see, home sales were down compared to October of last month. They're up compared to November of 2017. The number of homes listed in November 2018 is down compared to October 2018, up compared to November of 2017. The number of homes sold in November was down 15.8%, and they were also down compared to November of 2017. So some of the things we need to consider is some of this identifies seasonality among the sales. Others are really identifying trends. This is the houses placed under contract. Again, we were down 11%, up 6%, almost 7% compared to November of 2017. These are one of the graphs. So one of the things that we want to try to do as part of this market update, not only to give you the numbers, we want to give you some visual representations and a summary of what it really means, because sometimes it's not real intuitive to what's actually happening. And this is what Vina's really good at and what we've been working on. So, and all this stuff you can find online. This isn't information that we've created, it's information that we've identified and we've brought here. Days on market is rising. So you can see that it unchanged compared to October of 2018, down compared to 2017 in November. What you're going to see here in a second, that stat is really based on a 6-month trend. And you have to pay attention to what the numbers are trying to tell us. So the sold original list price ratio fell in November. And then here's the graph for that one. So that's the average days on market at the bottom, the sale price to original list price percentage up top. The median sold price trend is depreciating in the Columbus market for November 2018, and they're both down compared to the previous month and the previous year. The average for sale price trend is also falling in Columbus. Down in October, but it was up compared to November. Again, this is based on the 6-month trend that we'll see here in a minute. The average sold price trend fell in Columbus. It's down 3%, up compared to 2017. Again, here's the graph from the Central Ohio MLS, where you can see the median sold and for sale price. I think this is good stuff. You know, it helps to be able to see a visual representation, at least for me. So this is information that comes from the U.S. Census, and this is based on the third quarter 2018. So you can see the rental vacancy rates and the homeowner vacancy rates. This stuff's published quarterly. I don't know that we're going to cover this at every meeting, but it's definitely going to be part of the discussion as we go forward. This is the graph that they put out, and as you can see, that they've identified the recessions. And you can see where the vacancy rates go up every time that we have a recession. So that's what we're kind of anticipating this time if a recession in fact does happen. Black Knight. So we really kind of struggled finding good information for foreclosure rates that was published in a timely manner that we can make use of. So Black Knight is a financial technology company. They provide data to the real estate and mortgage industry. So you can Google them and you'll see they've got a pretty good site with a lot of information. So you can see the foreclosure starts were down compared to October 2018, also down from November 2017. Wait, let me go back here. So foreclosure starts, that's 30 days or more past due but not in foreclosure. They've got a lot of stats on their site, and you almost have to read the definitions every time to understand exactly what they're talking about. So these are foreclosures. These are properties that are in foreclosure, but they're pre-sale inventory, meaning that they haven't been listed yet. So again, you can see that they're up. And on this one, they gave us numbers. They didn't give us any percentages. This is their graph, and again, this is where they had kind of the definitions, where you can go through and look at each individual line item. So this comes from Vina. She wrote a little summary, which kind of works in conjunction with the presentation she gave earlier. I'm hoping that every month she'll do the same thing and put together a nice little summary for us. So I'm just going to flip through these. I'm not going to read them all to you guys, but you can read through them, and there's probably 3 or 4 slides here. This bottom one here, where she talks about the softening prices and inventory, a lot of this stuff is supported by the MLS. This is kind of what, there's one thing where we kind of identify trends when you're out, on the street doing deals, but it's another thing when you actually have data to support it. Again, here she talks about the stock market here and what could happen if we actually end up in a recession. And when she was talking at the end of her presentation there about what you need to do and what you need to have as far as your plan, as the year progresses, some of this stuff may or may not change. So one of the things we want to do is have a session where we talk about neighborhood news. So there was a article on Realtor.com that talks about what is the hottest Columbus market, or how hot was Columbus compared to the rest of the country. And as you can see, we were ranked she changed my slide, so I'm a little off here. So we're number 4 behind Chico, California, and then 2 towns in Texas. That kind of explains a little bit about what Realtor.com does to gather the data. They don't go into a lot of detail about what stats they're using. But this is where they ranked the individual neighborhoods in Columbus. So a lot of these you guys are going to be familiar with. Gahanna, Worthington, Westerville. Franklinton, Franklinton's been an area that's been in the news a lot lately, and people doing a lot of deals down there. Pleasantville, Ohio, which I think is somewhere out by Baltimore. It's not in Columbus proper, but is a part of the metro. So, questions, comments, recommendations, and requests. If there's anything that you want to see in the market update, any changes, if you've got recommendations for a news story, anything like that, send it to askvina@gmail.com. Okay.
Is that going to be posted on the website?